Welcome to Eat, Everyone at the Table. Tonight's event features cooking by Chef JP Pedhirney, food guru Julie Van Rosendaal, music from Drew Gregory and George Canyon, and much more. Sit back, enjoy the show, and cook along with your kit from the organic box. Bon appetit from Karya.
Good evening, and welcome all to Karya's online Eat event. My name is Sue Mallon, and I am the CEO of Karya. But what is Karya? Karya is a social service mental health agency established in 1910. Yes, 110 years ago. Karya was the first food bank. Karya was an employment agency. Karya developed and ran the very first seniors' home. Karya was a family support agency. Karya was whatever was needed to serve the citizens of Calgary. Karya is today a social service agency serving citizens from birth to old age. And in each of these people, we walk beside them, helping them to grow and develop and become all that they can be in our modern world. Karya staff in the past ran towards people to support them wherever they were. We now have to run away from people to deal with the pandemic. But while running away, we have to be aware that perhaps support and encouragement and connection is more important than ever before. So as resilient as they are, Karya staff within 48 hours learned new skills and converted their work to online platforms. Lots of training in new uses of technology, lots of talking and discussing how can we connect with people through the media of a screen. But Karya did that and now offers groups, single sessions, counseling sessions, or just friendly connection with people online, through the phone, or in video conferencing. We invite you to enjoy this event and publicize it widely. Tweet about it, take pictures, post it online. Make it a celebration of belonging, even though we're doing it through a screen. And now a few words from our sponsor, Craig Senek, from More Investments.
Thank you for the opportunity to be part of this dinner. I was really looking forward to being a panelist for the in-person dinner and was obviously disappointed when that couldn't happen, but pleased we could still take part virtually. I really love Karya's vision of strong families and communities for generations. There's no more difficult time than what we're living through currently. And one of the ways to get through times like this is by being adaptable and overcoming adversity. And what better example of being adaptable and overcoming adversity than what Karya is doing here when they've had an in-person dinner get canceled and is moving it virtually. And the reason they're doing this is to help all of us through a difficult time. And what better way to build strong families and communities for generations. And for that, thank you, Karya. Stay safe, everyone.
From Calgary's Concord Group, please welcome JP Pedhirney.
The first dish we're going to make is a chèvre or goat cheese wrapped in phyllo paste with a fresh zucchini relish and some fresh basil. To get started, what you'll want to do is you'll want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees, which we have set here, and just get that nice and hot. So the next part, what we'll do is we'll take phyllo pastries. So phyllo pastry is just a fine pastry. We're going to layer it with some melted butter. So what I've done beforehand is I've just melted a little bit of butter, and we're going to be brushing our phyllo pastry with the butter to create kind of layers so when it cooks it gets nice and crispy. So what we're going to do then is we're going to cut this piece of phyllo pastry in half with a sharp knife, just down the center, just widthwise as well. So now we have 2 sheets of phyllo ready to go to be wrapped. Next, we're going to take our melted butter and just give it a stir. And we're going to cover and brush the phyllo pastry. So what I did is once I brushed the first layer, I just added on the second piece of phyllo pastry. And I'm brushing it with butter again. And this is going to create the crispy layers of pastry once we wrap it around the goat cheese. So the next step is then we're going to take this and we're going to cut it in half one more time. like so. Now again, we have our 2 pieces. And we're just going to lay them on top of each other. So now we have 4 pieces of phyllo pastry. So then what we want to do is we want to add our goat cheese, and we just put it closer to me, not quite center, but closer to yourself. And we have our just our pumpkin seeds that we've lightly chopped up. And we're just going to kind of roll that so it sticks to the goat cheese. This adds a really neat layer of texture and flavor to the goat cheese. I use pumpkin seeds with this. You can use hazelnuts. You could use sesame seeds, depending on whatever you're serving it with. But I use pumpkin seeds. Zucchini is part of the squash family. So is pumpkin. So it works out very, very well for this dish. So then we're gonna roll it in our phyllo. And just to keep it, if you find it getting a little dry, you can just add butter. We're gonna roll it over once, maybe slightly push down. Then we're gonna gently push down on the sides. We'll fold those in to make a little package. And there we go. So then we're gonna bake this in the oven for 350 degrees for about 20-25 minutes. It depends on your oven. If you have a conventional oven, it might go a little bit faster. So for the next step, we're going to be doing a fresh zucchini relish. So traditionally, zucchini relish or a relish is fruits or vegetables that are cooked down with some vinegar and sugar, and you'll know it's more of a cooked, prepared condiment. It's going to be fresh, and we're going to do a technique that's super simple, so there's no cooking involved. So we're going to use about half of a zucchini. We're going to save the other half because I'll show you how to cut some extra pieces, but with just a fine grate or a box grater or anything, we're just going to grate this zucchini to make a relish. So you can see we have these nice strands of zucchini, and this is gonna give a nice crisp texture. I would do this just fresh for this dish with zucchini. The longer it sits, it might become soggy, so feel free to do this right before you serve the baked goat cheese. So here we have just rice vinegar. I like using rice vinegar for this. It doesn't impart much flavor, but it does give a nice kind of acidity and brightness, and it also makes the zucchini kind of pop in green color, which is a real nice touch to this. It's very summery and spring feeling. So just enough vinegar, about 2 tablespoons, just to lightly cover the zucchini. And we're going to add just a pinch of salt, and this is going to help draw some of the moisture out. And we give it a little stir, and we pack it in there. Now that we have our vegetables cut, the goat cheese will take about 20 to 25 minutes. We're going to let that cook until it's nicely golden brown. But please, in the meantime, enjoy music from Drew Gregory.
Well, good evening, everybody. My name is Drew Gregory, and thank you so much for having me part of this great event. It's great to see people getting so creative online and doing cool things like this. I'm a small-town kid. I grew up about an hour east of Calgary, a little town called Standard, Alberta, and want to do a little bit of a small-town song to start things off, and a song about what music means to me. And music's always been a big part of my life, and I think my favorite part about it is just the old memories it can bring up. So want to do this one. It's called I Was There. Well, FM radio in that rundown Texaco kicked right in the beginning of sweet emotion. standing there with my case of beer, staring through that cashier. For a second I was somewhere, caught up in the moment. I was going to a Friday night oil patch parking lot, black Trans Am with a T-top. Couple small town buddies just doing their best to get the small town girls to care. Holes in the knees of the old blue jeans when life was guitars and gasoline. Back when we thought being young wasn't going anywhere, I was there. Oh man, what a flashback to a Marlboro soft pack. Smart ass mouths and hair trigger middle fingers. Summertime side jive, blow it all at the quick stop. Ain't it funny how melody, Les Paul strings, drive my memory to a Friday night oil patch parking lot, black Trans Am with a T-top. Couple small town buddies just doing their best to get the small town girls to care. Holes in the knees of the old blue jeans when life was guitars and gasoline. Back when we thought being young wasn't going anywhere, I was there, yeah. So come on DJ, one more spin, take me there again. To a Friday night oil patch parking lot, black Trans Am with a T-top. Couple small town buddies just doing their best to get the small town girls to care. In the house, in the truck, cranking it up. When it comes on, man, I'm gone. Back when we thought being young wasn't going anywhere, I was there, I was there. Just as sure as I'm standing here, I was there, yeah. I was there. So I imagine a lot of you are sitting in your kitchens right now, given the nature of this event. And my mom's actually from the east coast of Canada, so I wanted to do a little bit of a kitchen party themed song. I thought it'd be appropriate for tonight. We used to go out there when we were young kids, and Grandpa, he was the only other one in the whole family that played guitar, but everybody played something. You grab the washboard or the spoons or just bang on the table, bang on some pots and pans, and we had a lot of fun with it, and thought it'd be a pretty good one to play here. This one's called All About It. Feel free to clap along at home. If you want to put the top down in the pouring rain, run through the streets in a hurricane, hitch a ride on a freight train and southbound, well, I'm all about it. If you like shooting bottles off an old wood post, jumping in the creek without any clothes, or sitting around a fire to listen to the coyotes howl, I'm all about it. Anything you want, babe, say the word. Anything you need, it's already yours. You like how it sounds, stuff that we found. Don't have to dance around it. I'm all about it. If you wanna fly off to Vegas for a weekend fling, sing you ever if you want me to sing. If your left hand finger needs a diamond ring around, well, I'm all about it. Anything you want, babe, say the word. Anything you need, it's already yours. You like how it sounds, stuff everything. Don't have to dance around it. I'm if you like a 2-bedroom with a white picket fence, a dog, a cat, and a couple of kids, baby, I'm all yours, yeah, I'm all in, don't doubt it. I'm all about it. I'm all about it. Anything you want, baby, say the word. Anything you need, it's already yours. You like how it sounds, it's love that we found. Don't have to dance around it. I'm all about it. Woo! I'm all about it. Thank you so much for having us tonight. My name is Drew Gregory.
We would love to see how your night is going with hashtag #EatOnline.
Okay, now it's been roughly 25 minutes. What we're looking for is just for that pastry to get nice and golden brown and crispy. So be careful because it's going to be hot and a little bit of the butter is going to come out, so you don't want that to splash up on anyone. So I like to use just like a flipper here. Just gently pull that out and just let it cool just for a couple seconds. So while we wait for that to cool, we're just gonna add our lemon zest. If you don't have a zester, this is a microplane, but if you don't have a zester at home, you can just cut the lemon in half and use the lemon juice. But the lemon's a nice, the zest is a nice little kind of citrusy note to complement with the goat cheese. So. And from here, you can serve as is. I like to serve with some crackers, so we have some nice rainforest crackers. These are fig and olive crackers, and then you can have the final taste testers come in and get the approval of the dish. So, my wife Heather and my son JJ.
You want to try some?
You want to try some? Okay. Yum.
Here with some fabulous pairings for tonight from South by Southwest Wines. Please welcome Cam MacCorquodale.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Cam MacCorquodale from SBSW Wine Imports. We're very proud to be involved with this progressive dinner in support of Karya. So the first wine that we have today is the Lake Breeze 2018 Sauvignon Blanc. Lake Breeze is from the Okanagan Valley, from the Naramata Bench. Beautiful family-owned winery. This is one of the best white wines I've tried from BC, and it will go perfect with the goat's cheese pumpkin phyllo tart. So as you can see in the glass, the wine is very bright and very brilliant. The brighter the white wine, the higher acid content in the wine, which really visually tells me it's going to go great with this dish. This dish with the cream of the goat's cheese and a little bit of oiliness from the phyllo pastry, you need something with a little bit of acid to cut right through it. So what I suggest is let's have a little sip of the wine, and then we'll try a little bit of the phyllo tart, and then we'll go back to the wine. Right off the bat, you can really see that acidity in the wine. For the flavors I pick up in the wine, typical fruits of the Okanagan Valley, green apple or Granny Smith apple, a little bit of white peach, and maybe a little hint of tropical flavor, but not too much. Definitely not your herbaceous New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. I really think there's a good home for Sauvignon Blanc in the Okanagan Valley because this is spectacular. So now try some of your food and really try and mash that food up in your mouth. Just take a little bit and really try and coat your mouth with the goat cheese phyllo tart. Let's go back to the wine. I would imagine that what you're going to see is you have a real cleansing effect. The acidity in the wine really will help cleanse your palate and take the oiliness and the creaminess away. You're still not fully getting the effects of the wine that you had prior to trying the phyllo tart, but you can see how the wine and the food are really in balance. So then after your mouth is really, really cleaned up, then you can take your last sip of the Sauvignon Blanc, and it should reappear back in its perfect form that you had the first time you tried it.
Now here's spoken word artist Marie Bryce.
Come walk with me a moment. Let our feet connect with concrete, pressing the sun-reflected hues of the Bow River blues that flow by our side. Look into my eyes. Know me. Share in the fabric that is woven into my being, and I will be the leather that covers the soles of your feet so I know what it is to be you, what it is to walk a kilometer in your shoes. What is it that you see? Read the lines ingrained into my palms. Like a crayon imprinted treasure map, we trace each other's footsteps day in and day out. Our eyes look to the river, our hearts know beauty and hurt. We ponder the life of strangers. This is our common ground. X marks the spot. Yet wind whips down empty corridors around the skyrise giant's feet, empty streets brandished with concrete. Where is everyone? Towers rise up like garden beds with life teeming inside. Fertile ground and ingrained in our design is our desire to rise out of the darkness and spread our limbs into the sun and share our gifts in the ways in which we've grown. So no longer will there be silent swing sets or empty tables. Rather, rusted containership conversations will prevail. And the glass curves and wooden arches will hum the song of our voices. And once again, you will see me. I am the Lost War vet, with a smile like Jimmy Stewart and stories unrolling like carpets. I am the woman with humbling words of kindness who fled her country to avoid being a target. I am the wandering soul whose nonsensical words echo truths through my impressionable gaze. I am the woman for whom the color of my skin and the person whom I love are chains in which I've come to break. I am the historian who wanders amongst the memories of this old town, and I am that wild heart still riding her trike while her memory lives on. And I am the unsuspecting leader who organizes a community meal. And I am the one with a broken heart still waiting for old wounds to heal. I am that gentleman with the carved out walking stick who has an eye for art. And I am the woman who so freely gives her love, leaning heavily on a failing heart. And I am the individual who lost his family and finds comfort in a sun-baked sidewalk. And I am the one who bears their soul behind the mask that's subject to the town talk. I am the one who wants to share the flavors from their home, an insightful moment into her mother's recipe passed down. See, I am lost in this language, but I know you more deeply because we painted together. See, we're all birds of a feather. We are all these individuals. We've lived here all our lives, and yet we are new. We are searching for someone, for community. And I found you. Yet there are individuals like threads waiting to be woven into the fabric. We have neighborhoods who fall under the titles of desirable or tragic. But imagine a place where we could all acknowledge that we are more alike than different, coffee stains on ceramic mugs as we spill over conversation, a place where we can share and cook together and share our recipes and dance in the aroma of each other's histories. So let us bear witness to the way in which each other looks at the world. Sit with me in my beliefs, and I will sit with you in yours. Let's explore the knots of this wood of our shared dining room table. The raw edges are a reflection of our imperfections and all that we are capable of. So let us have a place where the door's always open and the table's always set. And let us never forget, let's break bread together and let those crumbs fall, because above all, I know that when my pulse ceases to beat, there will still be a place at this table in my memory, because I live in you and you live in me, and I know that my family extends beyond my blood to my community. So you see, this is our common ground.
Here she is, Calgary's Queen of Cuisine, Julie Van Rosendaal.
Hey, I'm Julie Van Rosendaal. I am here in my kitchen, virtually cooking for this Karya dinner party. What a crazy way to get together and share a meal, but it's the way we're doing things now. So I am in charge of the main course. I'm going to make a beef bourguignon, which is a fancy way of saying a beef stew. It's simple, but it's comforting. It'll make your house smell fantastic while it cooks, and it's really a minimal effort for high rewards kind of a meal. And it's great when you do have people around, when we do get the chance to socialize again. It's great for feeding a crowd, but it also freezes well, so you can make a pot and put away the leftovers if it's just one or two people eating. So we're going to start by browning our meat and our onions. I've got a nice heavy skillet or a Dutch oven, any kind of braising pot, and that's going to go from the stovetop to the oven. Ideally, you want to keep it in the same pot because then you get all the brown bits in the bottom of the pan, and that's going to create that flavorful gravy. So canola oil is my go-to. Any kind of mild vegetable oil is great. You could use olive oil. I wouldn't use the expensive stuff. Save that for your salads or dipping your bread. And I've got some beef. So we have a recipe for you, but really quantities don't matter that much. If you want to cook a lot of meat, you just want to brown it and have enough liquid like stock or wine or even beer to come about halfway up your meat. So don't stress having the exact right amount. If you have a little bit less, that's fine, or more, that's fine. If you pat your meat dry first with paper towel, it's going to brown a lot better. And a lot of recipes call for tossing it with flour, but I like to brown the meat itself. I find if it's coated in flour, it's the flour that's browning instead of the meat itself. So you've noticed I talked for a minute to allow the pan to get hot. The combination of hot pan and hot oil will keep your meat from sticking. It's kind of sizzling. Means it's a hot pan. Okay, so we also don't want to crowd the pan with meat. If you've got too much meat in there, it's going to kind of steam instead of browning properly. So you want it to have some room, and the idea is to create a lot of flavor by browning all the sides and getting all those brown bits. That's where all the flavor is. So I've got some onion too. You could brown the meat first and then the onion if you have too much. If your pan is a bit smaller and it's crowded, you could do it one at a time. Otherwise, just throw them in. And I like to just sprinkle them with salt in the pan. This is kosher salt. It's a little bit lighter than table salt, but whatever salt you have is perfectly fine. A little bit of pepper is great. And garlic is a must. So a couple cloves of garlic. But I'm going to let this brown for a minute first. So turn the meat as the sides brown. You want to get some nice color on there. This is one of my go-to dishes when I'm feeding a lot of people. And it's one of the things that I love to do is have people over to my house, go to community dinners, community events. Community is very important to me, whether that means just a few people around my kitchen table or bringing a larger group of people together, or just being connected to different people in our communities, in our neighborhoods, in our school communities, in our social lives. There's just so many ways that we can connect with people, and food is one of those conduits that really just brings people together. We eat for so many reasons other than just to stay alive. We eat to socialize, we eat to comfort each other, to show support of each other. And it's this universal language that everyone understands. It's a great way to get to know someone better, not only by sharing a meal with them, but by learning their own, food customs and traditions in their families. So my dad is from Belgium, and carbonade of beef is very similar to beef bourguignon. Beef bourguignon is made with red wine. Carbonade is beer. So same exact technique. And that's a dish that my grandma used to make. She would brown the beef with onions and then pour in some beer, some ale, any kind of beer, ale, lager, and slow braise, just like a bourguignon. Bit of a different flavor profile, but exactly the same technique. So once the meat is on its way to browning, I'll add a little bit of thyme. If you have fresh thyme, maybe growing in your garden already, or you managed to pick some up, fresh is great, but dry thyme is just fine. I rub it just to sort of release more of the flavor, rub it through my fingers. This is thyme that I dried that was fresh, and it was extra. I had such a big bunch. I laid it out on a baking sheet and just let it dry. I didn't bake it, I just let it dry on the sheet and then rub the leaves off, and it lasts for a long time. So a little bit of thyme and then some garlic, but you don't want to leave the garlic on the heat for too long or it can burn. So right when the meat is just about browned, I'll add a bit of garlic. And then I'm going to shake some flour over the meat and onions and garlic. And that's going to thicken it a little bit. But it's totally optional. You don't need to have flour in here if you don't want. It doesn't have to be a wheat flour. Now what Julia Child does, I'm going to grab my flour from behind the camera because I always forget something when I do these videos. What Julia Child does, she shakes the flour over top and then she puts the pan in the oven and the flour kind of toasts and browns, and it just adds an extra layer of flavor. It's just like browning the meat and browning the onions. Anytime you brown, you caramelize food, you cause a Maillard reaction in the case of meat. That's what creates all the flavor. So, shake it over top. I'm going to show you, because we can't move the camera, but we can move the pot. All the little brown bits in the bottom of the pan. I'm going to stir it up a little bit better so that flour is coated, but those are the brown bits that we're going to loosen when we add the wine or the stock, or both. So this is chicken stock, beef stock would be fine, vegetable stock would be fine, and that is just going to loosen up those brown bits. And then wine, some for me, some for the pot. You want the liquid to come about half, 3/4 of the way up the meat. So you don't really need to measure. And how much you use is kind of going to depend on the size of your pot. If you have a really big pot, you might need a little bit more. Salt. Oh, tomatoes. So a little bit of tomato paste will sort of enrich in the sauce, the gravy. It doesn't have to be tomato paste. It can be a little bit of leftover tomato sauce in your fridge. It can be some passata. It can be half a can of diced tomatoes. Just a little bit of tomato will give it some acid, some sweetness, and some richness. I love tubes of tomato paste because it lasts a lot longer than the little cans, and they're like $2 at the Italian market or wherever you get your groceries. Okay, so I put a lid on. If you don't have a lid for your pot, you can use some foil. I'm going to put it in a 325 degree oven, and while it cooks for about 2.5 hours, we're going to listen to some Drew Gregory. Not for 2.5 hours.
So I've got a song that we wrote on a Friday afternoon. We were kind of been the end of a long week, and it was a couple years ago I wrote this one, and we weren't thinking too hard about it. We just wanted to write a fun little tune, but it's kind of been a lot of my fans' theme through this whole ordeal, and it's helped a lot of people through a lot of things. It's not something I really expected, but we were just trying to write a positive, happy, fun song, and came up with this one, and I guess I feel like I've written some heartfelt, pretty touching tunes, and it's funny that this one people just keep coming back to, so thought it'd be fitting one to do tonight as well. It's called No Good. Don't look back, don't need to look back, you can't change yesterday. Lately it's been on no good, but I know good's coming my way. La 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 la. La 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 la. I know some days ain't your best days. Yeah, it's okay to hurt sometimes. If you're needing that feel-good feeling, I'm gonna shut out the lights tonight, we're gonna make it alright. here, right now, let's sing it out loud. It's time for me and you. Forget about what's getting us down and remember what's getting us through. Don't look back, don't need to look back. Can't change yesterday. Lately it's been on no good, but I know good's coming my way. La 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 la. La 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 la. Everybody knows somebody who meets somebody who needs a friend. Get on through it. Here's how we do it. Gonna let up the band and dance. Come on, clap your hands. Right here, right now, let's sing it out loud. It's time for me and you. Forget about what's getting us down and remember what's getting us through. Don't look back, don't need to look back. Can't change yesterday. Lately it's been on no good, but I know good's coming my way. La 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 la. La 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 la. And I know this sounds so simple, simple. Sometimes it's hard to do. Oh yes it is. Oh, but I know where there's a little light shining through, yes, I do. La 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 la, yeah. La 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 la. I'll sing it now. La 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 la. La 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 la. Yeah, right here, right now, let's sing it out loud. Forget about what's getting us down. No, can't change yesterday. Lately it's been on no good, but I know good's coming my way. And lately it's been on no good. I know good is coming my way. Yeah, so I wanted to talk a little bit about what community means to me, and I grew up in a very small town, like I said, about 350 people, and community was always about volunteering. I mean, that was a big part of it. Nothing really gets done in those towns unless you got a lot of volunteers, and my dad was a big volunteer on a bunch of different egg societies and Lions clubs and all that, and we built a lot of stuff when I was young, just always following him around. And through that, it just gave me a lot of pride in my community. So you get that pride and you get those people volunteering. I think it's very important. So I see that now more than ever, just people helping people out and people helping people that they don't even know out all around the world. And that's what's been the most amazing thing about all of this. And I hope we can continue that afterwards. It always seems to take tragedy to bring out the best in people like that. But it's been, a prolonged thing, and I hope we can keep it going. We wrote this next song after a tragedy, a little different than this one. It was shortly after the shootings in Las Vegas, and it was down in Nashville in November. They'd happened in October, and I was writing with a couple friends of mine, and we wanted to write something about it. And we kind of got started on the song, and it was kind of this song, angry song, we were pretty mad. It was something that hit the country music community pretty hard. And it was cool to me to see the power of songwriting and the power music has to heal. As we kind of went throughout that day, it became more and more this song about love and this song about hope and this song about no matter what side of the fence you're on, it's everybody can come together in times of tragedy and help one another out. And I hope everybody's doing that right now. And events like this and a lot of other ones happening are helping out a lot. So I want to do this song for you. It's called Good Place to Start. Shots rang out on the Vegas Strip. News anchor says that the world's gonna end. He said it before, but say it again. Shots rang out on the Vegas Strip. Man waves a Nazi flag in the air. Marches on down to your little town square. And the people in power, they act like they care. Man waves a Nazi flag in the air. Want us to be silent, stay numb to the violence. But we're not gonna stand in the shadows, let hate lead us into the dark. Don't know how to get where we need to be going, but love is a good place to start. My mama told me in those moments of evil, look for the hands of the kind-hearted people. You'll notice the good far outnumbers the bad. My mama told me evil don't stand a chance. It'll try to divide us. All one thing unites us. And we're not gonna stand in the shadow, let hate lead us into the dark. Don't know how to get where we need to be going, but love is a good place to start. Make sure that the devil knows when he returns. We're not gonna sit back and watch the world burn. And we're not gonna stand in the shadows, let hate lead us into the dark. Don't know how to get where we need to be going, but love is a good place to start. Yeah, love's such a good place to start. Hey! That's it for me, folks. My name is Drew Gregory. Thank you so much for having me. Throwing it back to Julie.
Okay, so I pulled the beef out of the oven after about 2.5 hours, and I'm gonna finish it with some sauteed mushrooms and some little onions. These are cipollini onions. You may be able to find pearl onions. They're sweet and they're small, so you can leave them whole or cut them in half if they're a little bit bigger. And I'm gonna saute them in some butter. On their own, they're gonna have a chance to brown and caramelize a little bit, and I'm gonna stir them into the final stew. So if you wanna turn this bourguignon into a more traditional beef stew, you could add some carrots, some little potatoes, put them back in the oven, put the whole stew back in the oven for about 20 minutes, and that'll give the vegetables a chance to cook through without getting so mushy that they fall apart, which they would do if they were in the oven for 2.5 hours. So, got some butter, some mushrooms. These are big mushrooms, so I quartered them. And we just want to brown them in a skillet. Again, you don't want to crowd your skillet too much. Add a little bit of salt. You could do oil if you like instead of the butter. I like butter for flavor. The mushrooms kind of soak up all that butter. Do a little bit of both. bit of olive oil. While that cooks, I'm going to show you the stew. So the meat is really tender. The gravy has thickened up. You see? And yeah, bourguignon doesn't have a lot of vegetables in it traditionally, but like I said, you could throw some baby carrots or some potatoes in there. The gravy has some body to it from that little bit of flour. If you don't want to use flour, or if it's still a little bit runny or juicier than you like it, just put it on the stove top and simmer it till it reduces a little bit. And once these mushrooms and onions are nice and golden, we're just going to stir them in along with that butter. Now, my grandmother used to serve her braised beef and beer, her carbonade, over buttered egg noodles. I like this over mashed potatoes or just with crusty bread, anything to sop up that extra sauce. So at this point, you want to taste your stew for salt and add a little bit more if it needs it. It's important to season it early on and then toward the end because it'll cook down. Any salt that you add at the beginning will be more concentrated, but you have a chance now to add a little bit more if it needs it. Salt is a flavor enhancer. It won't make it just taste salty. It'll make everything in your stew taste more like itself. And that's good. If you want to add some pepper, I don't think we added pepper yet. You can add a little bit of pepper. And then the butter will have a chance to brown as it browns the vegetables here. Now the mushrooms will release some of their juices and then they'll start to caramelize. And as soon as they start to get nice and golden and any extra moisture, any liquid has cooked off, we can just stir it right into the stew. Now if you want to add some peas, frozen peas take 5 minutes to cook. So just stir them in, put it on the stove top, let it bubble for a few minutes, and that'll be good to go. This also gives you a chance to feel chefy by flipping the mushrooms and onions at the end. So this whole virtual dinner party is a way for Karya to bring everyone together and feel like we're sharing a meal even if we can't in real life. One of the great things about this kind of a one-pot meal, a sort of a long-simmered beef bourguignon, is if you do have people around, whether you have company coming over when we're able to do that again, or if you're just feeding the people that you're living with, you can put this in early in the day, let it cook, time does all the work, and finish it off at the very end, right when you're ready to serve it. So the beef could be braised in advance. You could cool it down, put it in the fridge, leave it overnight. It even gets better after a day in the fridge, and rewarm it, finish it off with the mushrooms and onions. Or it freezes really well if you want to make a big batch, or maybe there's only one or two of you at home. You could freeze just this part, even turn it into like a ragu for your pasta, or add mushrooms and onions and turn it into bourguignon. But it's a great large batch, one-pot meal that doesn't require a lot of work, and it's great for serving a large crowd. If you have more people around the table, just cook more beef and add more vegetables, and you don't really need to worry about measurements being really exact. So there we go. Here is our beef bourguignon. Now if you want to make this without alcohol, of course you could leave out the wine, just use stock, canned tomatoes. Some people even use a little bit of coffee. In here, if you have tomato juice in the fridge, that works well too. And if you have a little bit of parsley lasts a long time. So when you go grocery shopping, you can pick some up and it'll last for weeks in the fridge, especially if you pull the leaves off the stems. Just tear some over top, and that'll add a little bit of color, a little bit of sort of bright flavor. And do this right when you're ready to serve it. So here's our finished bourguignon. We're going to go to Cam now, and he's going to talk about what wines are best to pair with this meal. But stick around, because after dessert, we're going to hear from George Canyon.
The second wine that we're going to try tonight is the 2016 Lemelson Vineyards Cuvée X Pinot Noir. This is from Oregon. This is an organic Pinot Noir from Oregon, from the first organic vineyards in Oregon. This has always been one of my favorite vineyards in Oregon, and this should go perfect with the beef bourguignon. When we were looking for a wine to go with the beef bourguignon, we understood that the beef bourguignon is going to have a little bit of earth to it, but not very much, and the cooking out of the carrots and hopefully pearl onions in your dish are going to allow some natural sweetness to this dish. So we did want to balance it out with a wine that does have some fruit but is quite earthy, and it really will tone down the sweetness of the beef bourguignon. So let's go ahead and try the wine before we try the dish. As you can see, the tannins are really mild, which will be great because the beef has been braised and it's braised out, so the beef won't have that really leather characteristic that you need a tannic wine for. Really earthy, and you can see it's got a really nice finish. It lingers a little bit. Obviously medium-bodied wine at best, but should go really good with a stew. So let's try the beef bourguignon now. So have a little bit of the beef bourguignon and really, again, mash it up in your mouth and try and coat your mouth and really enjoy the dish. We'll give you a couple minutes again just to really enjoy. Yeah, just a great wine. Really good food wine and really good with braised meats. I hope you really enjoyed this with the beef bourguignon.
We would love to see how your night is going with hashtag #EatOnline.
Hi, welcome back. So I hope you enjoyed the entree dish and you've enjoyed the live music that's been going on so far for Eat. So it's great. It's a great online event. Great to see MacCorquodale with some wonderful wine pairings. So the last part of this is the dessert we're going to prepare, which is a cocoa caramel cream tart. To get started, what we'll need first is have your oven preheated to 350 degrees. We want to have the oven rack placed in the center. As this bakes, it takes about 45 to 50 minutes to bake. To get started, the first thing that we're going to want to do is with our tempered butter, we have 1 1/4 cups of tempered butter, and some of that butter we're going to use to line our pan. So I'm just brushing So the next part is, then we'll take the remaining part of the butter, and you want to make sure it's soft, because what we're going to do is we're going to add it into a stand-up mixer, and we're just going to incorporate a little bit of air. It's going to help make the tart soft and have just a little bit of that nice airy, velvety kind of texture. So we're just going to place it in here. If you don't have a stand-up mixer like this, you can use just like a hand whip, electronic hand whip. So we want to make sure the bowl's up. So now that we've just whipped the butter for about 1 minute, we're gonna add our sugars. So we have brown sugar, white sugar. We have our vanilla, and you can use vanilla extract if you have a nice vanilla paste. Any of the quality is so we're going to go about just a 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla paste, and I just pour that right in with the sugar. We have corn syrup, and when I add corn syrup to things, sugar or anything like that, it gets really sticky, so I just make a little well in the sugar, and we're going to do 2 tablespoons just in there, right into the center, and this will just make it so it's easy to scoop into the bowl. And we're just going to mix your sugar in. Nope. And we're just going to let that incorporate. So while that works slowly, I'm going to have my helpers add in the eggs, just one egg at a time. And we're going to almost make kind of like a smooth, creamy batter, you know, which will be easy to pour into our pan. Hey, JJ?
You like that?
Yeah. So the next part, what we're going to add is combine our cocoa and our flour. And we just want to mix these together because that's going to be the final piece. Also, just for this part, just a little pinch of salt right in there just to help season the tart. A lot of salt is very important in baking. It helps even with sweet aspects. It just helps that final seasoning. And then we'll mix those together. So this next step I do probably in just multiple rounds. With the cocoa powder, it's very, very light, so as soon as you turn on a mixer, it's going to poof up into a cocoa cloud, which some youngsters might like. But just slowly to slowly incorporate. So now we have our cake-like batter mixture. So it looks like this. And we're going to scoop it into our tart shell. And like I said, you're going to want to make this a little bit in advance because it does take about 50 minutes to cook. So I make little divots. But you don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You still want to have that tart batter cover the bottom so the caramel doesn't seep through. But it's pretty straightforward. Now for the fun part. I have one small can of dulce de leche. I mean, this part you can use as much as you personally would like. I find the more the merrier. The more the sweeter. And you just want to push that in. So there we have our tart before it goes into the oven. So like I said, this one depends on your oven, but in the middle rack. And we'll set a 50-minute timer for my oven, that is. But I would judge on after about 40 minutes. What I do to test at the end is if you have a wooden skewer or anything metal, you can stick it in the center of the tart, and if it comes off clean, it's ready to go. So what we do have is we have one that we baked last night. I'm a big fan of whipped cream, and I like to kind of roll like a big ball of whipped cream using just kind of a moistened spoon, and then dolloping it on top like so. And then the final part of this, optional as well, but I always find chocolate and salt and caramel or salted caramel, they go together very, very well. So I like to finish this with a little bit of coarse salt, which we got from Newfoundland, and just sprinkle it on top, and it just gives that extra little flavor, just a little bit of salt. And then we can get our taste testers in. Our friend, here, try that, buddy. That's I think this is the first time he's had sugar.
Learn more about us at caryacalgary.ca.
The Luigi Bosco Winery is actually a UNESCO heritage site in Italy with 4 kilometers of underground caves at their winery. It's an amazing spot. Let's go ahead and we'll try the wine first. So you may notice that this wine's got a very slight bit of sparkling on it, or petulance. So Moscato d'Asti is made with a very, very slight bit of carbon dioxide, and just delicious. You can taste the sweetness. However, the acid and the carbon dioxide really allow your mouth to be cleansed. It's not cloying like if you've ever had an ice wine or a Sauternes. So let's go ahead now and try your Dulce de Leche cocoa tart. And then when you're ready, let's go back to the wine. And really swish that wine around in your mouth. Help that wine really cleanse your palate. The acidity and the CO2 should really help clear off any of the residual sugar or syrupiness of the dessert. I'm sure the dessert was amazing, and I hope you think the wine's amazing. I think the wine's amazing.
Please welcome tonight's special guest from his studio in Calgary, George Canyon.
Hi everyone, I'm George Canyon, and it is a real pleasure to get to be with you virtually from my home studio, as we're all on lockdown and have been for quite some time. I just wanted to just take a moment and talk about community. A friend of mine the other day said, we're all in this together, although he was from back home in Nova Scotia. He put it a little bit more bluntly. He said, we're all standing in the poop together. We're all up to our ankles in it together, but most importantly, we are together. And times like these, I know instinctively you want to panic. You want to go to that stressed out place. But my wife reminded me to take a deep breath and be grateful for everything that we have. To get to spend this time as a family at home. And we have a 21-year-old and 2 20-year-olds. And, normally we'd say, what are you guys doing tonight? And they're off doing something. Well, no, they say, well, we're watching movies with mom and dad, or we're playing cards with mom and dad, and we were just having a blast. And getting to spend this time with family, you just have to treasure it. It's incredible. And I know as a community, when we all get through this, I think the communities are going to come out and be stronger. I think sometimes we take for granted community. That everybody's always going to be there. Your neighbors are always going to be there. And at this time when we can't be together, I think we're starting to realize that, well, we might be taking that for granted a little. And when this is all done, I think we're going to come together and have one big community party right across the whole country, if not across the whole world. This here song, of course, this is the song we play when our beloved Calgary Flames win. Let's have no idea what's going to happen with the season this year, but as their anthem singer, I love to hear this song for many reasons. I got to record it on a classics record, but it is my favorite Johnny Cash song. So I thought we'd do a little sing-along at a social distance. Here we go. Love is a burning thing, and it makes a fiery ring. Bound by a wild desire, I fell into a ring of fire. Here we go. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, down, down. The flames, they went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, the ring of fire. The taste of love is sweet when hearts like ours meet. Well, I fell for you like a child. Oh, my fire went wild. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, down, down. The flames, they went higher. And it burns, burns, burns. The ring of fire, the ring of fire. One more time, everybody together. I fell into a burning ring of fire. I went down, 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 and the flames, they went higher. And it burns, 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 the ring of fire, the ring of fire. And it burns, 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 my ring of fire, that ring of fire. A big, big thanks to everyone being a part of this wonderful evening. God bless you all, and we're all going to get through this together.
A special thanks tonight for those who made this event online possible. Craig Sennick from More Investments, renowned chefs Julie Van Rosendaal and JP Pedhirney, sommelier MacCorquodale, celebrated Canadian musicians Drew Gregory and George Canyon, Bamboo Shoots, and TELUS Communications. I hope you enjoyed your evening tonight. Stay safe, stay healthy. Good night.